Hello there, I'm Nolan Chen, Partner Solutions Architect at AWS.
And hi, I'm Matt Meyer, Head of Solutions Engineering at Edge Delta.
Matt, we covered a lot in our last few videos on telemetry pipelines, but could you now put it all together and tell us how companies can get more control over their security and observability data with telemetry pipelines?
Of course. So it starts with a collection of data from various sources. So here I will list out the data that we often ingest. So it could be application data, could be infrastructure or cloud. It could be network and security data, or even data from your third-party systems that you want to correlate for your observability and security incidents.
And again, these sources of data, they're under your company's control, right? But they could be in the cloud or outside of cloud, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
We can collect this data from wherever it is being generated. And I think that's one of the real key pieces of differentiation for telemetry pipelines. We now get to control that data before we send it to downstream systems. Some of those operations might look like masking of data to make sure that we don't send anything non-compliant or that contains PII to any of these other systems. We can enrich, adding critical context of where it was come from or additional metadata so that we can help with those security incidents, whether it's security or observability. We can reduce, removing unnecessary cardinality or noise so that, again, you're only sending the signal with none of the fluff. We can even transform, making the data more usable. So potentially you might have logs. We can convert those to metrics so that you have faster mean time to detect. We can even put things in OTel or OCSF compliant formats for your observability or telemetry needs. And then finally, we can even analyze. Taking that data, analyzing them closer to the source. Sometimes you can actually get more enrichments and faster mean time to detection before you have to centralize all that data, meaning that you can detect incidents even quicker.
Okay, so again, data from different sources going to a telemetry pipeline. And the important thing here is this telemetry pipeline is under your company's control. Right?
Correct. So all of this is going to be under your purveyance. So our pipelines can run at the edge in our name. They can run in the cloud. They can even run in very distributed manners. But the most important thing is before you send to those high-cost destinations, we get full control of that data. Some of those destinations might be, as I mentioned before, observability. Could be your SIM platforms. It could be your third-party systems, like your data lakes. It could even be object store in something like Amazon S3. And each one of these, we can send reduced data to your observability platform for faster mean time to detection. We can send reduced PII data to your security system so that you can have all of the forensics without any of the non-compliance. We can send data to a third party, like the analysis of some of this data so that we can have better alerting. We can send full fidelity copies to data lakes or object stores. And that even allows us further considerations like rehydration, where we can take some of that data, feed back into the pipeline, and then feed into your SIMs if there is an incident, so that you only pay for the data when you need it with none of the additional cost when you don't.
Okay, so take object store, for example. That could be S3 on AWS under your control. But these destinations, they could be outside of your cloud and outside of your control, correct?
Correct.
So once it's outside of your control, that's why it's important to have a pipeline before that in the middle where you can control the processing and the routing to different destinations.
That's correct. And that's something that Edge Delta is uniquely positioned to help with. So things like the configuration of the pipelines, things like managing the pipelines themselves, their health and the rollout and performance, and obviously even the observability and the telemetry to understand the data flowing itself before you ever egress it out. That is one of the core differentiations of our product.
Okay, well, you've drawn a lot of components here, and at first glance it may look kind of complex, but you really simplify it by just having a pipeline in the middle that again draws data from different sources and simplifies the control over your observability and security data.
Correct.
Well, thank you, Matt. One last question. How can customers interested in telemetry pipelines get started today?
I would say the best way is to head to edgedelta.com. There you can find a wealth of information around the sources, the processing rules, or even the destinations we can send to you. The thing I think I'd like most is go ahead and reach out for a demonstration. Myself or my team would love to show you the power of our platform in an environment very particular to your use case.
Well, thank you, Matt. And really enjoyed talking about the power of telemetry pipelines with you all today. Thank you very much.